The 1970s wasn't just the age of disco and dystopian sci-fi, it was the decade when animation got dangerous. These films weren't just banned, they were burned, censored, buried, and somehow survived to become cult legends. And one animated masterpiece was buried so deep it took decades to resurface from its own ashes. 10. Coonskin, 1975. Coming in at number 10, we have Coonskin, and when Ralph Bakshi followed up Fritz the Cat with this nuclear bomb of social commentary, even he didn't expect the explosion that followed. Coonskin wasn't just controversial. It was a full-scale war between art and outrage. This live-action animation hybrid tore through American racism like a chainsaw through silk, following three black characters navigating Harlem's brutal streets through hyper-exaggerated, disturbing caricatures. But Bakshi wasn't mocking. He was exposing how society had been doing it all along. The Congress of Racial Equality didn't see the nuance. They saw the title and erupted. Theaters were picketed before screenings even began. Paramount dropped the film like radioactive waste. Cities banned it outright, while others faced threats and angry mobs just for considering showing it. Critics were split between calling it genius and declaring it unredeemable. Decades later, it's recognized as brutal political art that dared to say the unsayable. Back then, it was simply too dangerous to exist. 9. The 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat, 1974. At number 9, we have The 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat. And if Fritz the Cat kicked down the door of adult animation, The 9 Lives ran through it with a flamethrower and never looked back. This 1974 sequel arrived without creator Robert Crumb's blessing. In fact, Crumb despised the original film so much he murdered Fritz in his own comics. This sequel wasn't just unauthorized, it was animated heresy. Fritz drifted through twisted fantasies, Nazi stormtrooper, space-traveling drug dealer, political revolutionary. Sex, drugs, war, and chaos cranked to volume 11. Social commentary took a back seat to pure shock therapy. The result? Another X rating, immediate bans in Australia, heavy censorship elsewhere, and critics calling it pointless, vulgar, and soulless. Even fans of the original felt betrayed. While curiosity kept it profitable, The 9 Lives proved that even underground animation could go too far underground and suffocate in its own excess. 8. Shame of the Jungle, 1975. Number 8 brings us Shame of the Jungle, and originally titled Tarzoon, L'Honte de la Jungle. This French-Belgian nightmare took Tarzan, stripped him of dignity and clothes, then twisted the whole mythology into grotesque adult cartoon madness. This wasn't cheeky parody, it was sensory assault. Bizarre sexual humor, violent slapstick, and character designs that looked like they crawled from hell's animation studio. The plot followed a pathetic jungle hero rescuing his girlfriend from mutated sperm-shaped soldiers. Yes, really. When dubbed for America with voices by John Belushi and Bill Murray, it only got weirder. Edgar Rice Burroughs' estate wasn't laughing. They sued for defamation, forcing a title change to Shame of the Jungle. UK censors rejected it entirely. US theaters pulled it after public complaints. Critics called it juvenile pornography. Yet it developed a cult following among fans of taboo-busting cinema, proving that sometimes the most reviled films become the most remembered. 7. Down and Dirty Duck, 1974. Taking the number 7 spot is Down and Dirty Duck, and Roger Corman's New World Pictures wanted to ride Fritz's success wave. But Down and Dirty Duck didn't just ride it, it drove it straight off a cliff into a cesspool. This 1974 shock fest followed a lonely insurance clerk and his talking duck companion through strip clubs, brothels, and psychedelic encounters with cartoon women. Where Fritz had satire, Dirty Duck had one mission: maximum shock value. Explicit scenes, racial stereotypes, crude jokes, and psychedelic nonsense made it feel more like underground comic vomit than feature film. Critics destroyed it. Trash, nauseating, total disaster. Mainstream theaters refused to screen it. Countries banned it sight unseen. Many U.S. cinemas rejected it without watching the full reel. But here's the twist. It slowly gained cult status among counterculture animation fans, becoming a so bad it's genius artifact from animation's wildest experimental phase. 6. Once Upon a Girl, 1976. At number 6, we encounter Once Upon a Girl, and you think you know Snow White and Cinderella? Think again. Once Upon a Girl took beloved fairy tales and turned them into full-blown X-rated animated fantasies that made censors reach for the smelling salts. This 1976 film used Mother Goose's courtroom trial as a framing device for graphic retellings of Jack and the Beanstalk, Cinderella, and Little Red Riding Hood. Only now they were packed with explicit scenes and sexual content that would make even seasoned adult film critics blush. This wasn't softcore animation. This was the full Monty in cartoon form. The result was immediate bans in multiple states and countries. Most theaters wouldn't touch it. Even adult cinemas were cautious. It vanished quickly, living on only through underground VHS tapes passed like contraband through the 1980s. Strangely, some animation was done by Hanna-Barbera professionals using pseudonyms to protect their careers. Today, it's a rare curiosity, remembered more for its audacious attempt than its artistic achievement. Hit that subscribe button if you're ready for the top 5, because these next films didn't just cross lines, they obliterated them entirely. 5. Fantastic Planet, 1973. Coming in at number 5 is Fantastic Planet, and don't be fooled by Fantastic Planet's lack of nudity or profanity. This French-Czech masterpiece was just as dangerous as any X-rated cartoon, maybe more so. Its hand-drawn cutout animation looked like something pulled from dreams or nightmares. But beneath the surreal visuals lay razor-sharp allegory that cut too close to political bone. Set on a distant planet where giant blue drags enslaved tiny humans called Oms, it explored domination, rebellion, and dehumanizing control. In Cold War context, this wasn't just bold, it was revolutionary dynamite. Eastern Bloc countries banned or restricted it immediately, fearing anti-government sentiment. It circulated underground among cinephiles like coded resistance messages. Western critics didn't know how to categorize this intellectual sci-fi that was too strange for mainstream audiences and too political for comfort. It won the Special Jury Prize at Cannes and slowly built cult status. But in the 70s, it was a ticking ideological time bomb disguised as art house animation. 4. Belladonna of Sadness, 1973. Number 4 takes us to Belladonna of Sadness, and imagine delicate watercolor beauty hiding some of animation's most disturbing imagery. That's Belladonna of Sadness, visually stunning and psychologically devastating in equal measure. This 1973 Japanese film followed a woman named Jin, who's assaulted on her wedding night, then makes a pact with the devil. What unfolds is hypnotic descent into madness, witchcraft, and revenge told through watercolor paintings that explode across screens like fever dreams. But don't let the artistic style fool you. Belladonna packed graphic sexual imagery, stylized violence, and surreal erotic symbolism that shocked audiences into silence. Japanese censors slapped heavy restrictions on it immediately, pulling it from major theaters. Europe considered it too graphic for general release. Multiple countries banned or heavily censored it. Despite being the final entry in Osamu Tezuka's Animorama trilogy, it bombed commercially. Critics couldn't decide if it was feminist, misogynistic, art, or pornography. For decades, it was nearly impossible to find, existing only in bootlegs and whispered conversations. Then it was restored in HD and re-released, finally getting recognition as a visionary, if deeply unsettling, masterpiece. 3. Fritz the Cat, 1972. At number 3, we have the legendary Fritz the Cat, and this is the film that started the adult animation revolution and nearly ended it before it began. Fritz the Cat didn't just push boundaries, it incinerated them completely. Based on Robert Crumb's Underground comics and directed by Ralph Bakshi, it became the first animated movie in U.S. history to receive an X rating. From opening night, it was surrounded by chaos. Following a hip, horny college cat through surreal 1960s. America filled with sex, drugs, racism, and revolution, it mocked everything. Politics, religion, race relations, social norms. No topic was sacred, no punch was pulled. The reaction was explosive. Banned in the UK, Australia pulled it from shelves. US cities refused screenings. Religious groups called for boycotts. Even creator Robert Crumb hated it so much he disowned the project and killed off Fritz in his comics. But here's the twist. It was a massive hit. Made for $850,000, it earned over $90 million worldwide. Controversy fueled success. To some, it was vulgar trash. To others, raw commentary on American hypocrisy. Either way, it changed animation forever and opened floodgates for adult-oriented cartoons. 2. Heavy Traffic, 1973. Taking the number 2 spot is Heavy Traffic, and if Fritz cracked the door for adult animation, Heavy Traffic kicked it off its hinges and set the whole house on fire. Ralph Bakshi's 1973 follow-up was darker, grittier, and brutally personal. His chaotic New York upbringing splattered across screens in raw animated fury. Following young cartoonist Michael drifting through urban hellscapes of gang violence, racism, sexual tension, and broken families, blending live action with surreal animation that felt like sweat-soaked fever dreams. It earned an X rating for graphic violence, nudity, and brutally honest street life depictions. Many theaters refused it. Censors demanded cuts. Others banned it completely. Where it did screen, it played grindhouse theaters and late-night slots far from mainstream audiences. But Heavy Traffic became a cult phenomenon. Critics who dismissed Fritz praised Traffic's artistry and emotional depth. It wasn't just provocative, it was powerfully authentic street poetry in motion. Bakshi called it his most personal film, and every frame proves it. Lived in, raw, and devastatingly real. 1. Watership Down, 1978. And finally, at number 1, we have Watership Down, and at first glance, Watership Down looks charming. Soft animation, earthy colors, characters named Hazel and Fiver. But within minutes, it reveals itself as one of animation's most brutal emotional experiences. Based on Richard Adams' novel, following rabbits fleeing their destroyed home, searching for safety sounds innocent enough. But these rabbits don't just talk. They bleed, fight, and die with shocking realism. Savage animal battles, suffocating deaths under bulldozers, and General Woundwort, a militarized tyrant rabbit who makes Disney villains look like kindergarten teachers. Despite being marketed to children with a U rating in the UK, equivalent to G in the US, kids worldwide watched it and were never the same. Sweden and Germany banned or heavily censored scenes deemed too disturbing for young audiences. Parental complaints flooded networks after TV airings. Some psychologists argued it could cause lasting childhood trauma. Yet it became a beloved cult classic, praised for honest exploration of death, survival, and freedom. For many, it was their first exposure to animation tackling serious, even terrifying themes. Watership Down didn't need explicit content to be banned. It just needed truth, and truth was terrifying enough. These weren't just cartoons, they were animated revolutions. Each dared to do what animation was never supposed to do: speak raw, uncomfortable truth. Some used shock, others satire, some surreal beauty or haunting realism. But they all shared one thing. They pushed too far for their time, and the world pushed back hard. Banned, censored, protested, buried. These movies didn't follow rules, they rewrote them entirely. Were they banned because they were dangerous or because they were right? Let us know which one shocked you most in the comments below.